Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show, Insurance Talk 101. I'm your host, Richard Paul, owner of Linked Local and Agency AI, where we help insurance agents from all over the country grow and scale their business completely on referrals. Today, we got a really exciting show for you today. We've got Peter Velardi from Referral IQ. Peter, how's the day going today?
Oh, it's going outstanding. Happy Friday to you, and it's great to be here with you, Richard.
Awesome. Yeah, we're excited for quite a few of the things we're going to cover today. So, guys, we're going to have a great show for you today. Before I get started, if you're here with us live or you're seeing us on the replay, make sure that you give us some love on this video. The way we get out there, everybody knows social media is all about likes, comments, and shares. And we want to help as many insurance agents as we can grow and scale their business completely through referrals. That's what we're going to be talking about mostly today. And we need your help to do that, to get this video out there. So if you can, like, comment, share, love, whatever you'd like to do and get it out there, that would be super appreciated. So we'll kind of get started here. Peter, why don't we kind of tell me just a little bit about your background and kind of how you came about, starting Referral IQ?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So Refer Me IQ spawned out of my background. And incidentally, speaking of love, I love your audience because I have been one of them. And I still am actually licensed in Georgia. But we serve our top market that we help you solve for referrals, and converting those referrals actually is independent insurance agents. So always love talking to insurance agents. And in fact, that's how my career with referrals originated. I started out right out of college. I'll date myself, but in the early 80s. As an insurance agent for John Hancock. And I came from the school of make 1,000 cold calls a week to book 30 to see 6 to maybe acquire 1 to 3 and all the misery and rejection and hangups that go along with that. So that's where I began. And that was great in a way. It was a great school of hard knocks. But then I transitioned into the financial planning business with a company that is now called Ameriprise Financial as a financial advisor. And I said to myself, it's just not sustainable to do it that way. It's just a burnout way to do it. And then I went to a training class with the guru of the industry of referrals at the time, who taught a system in terms of how to build a referral-based business. So I took that. I told him I'd split all my cases 50-50 for a year if he taught me how to do it. I created that system, applied it to my practice. It exploded because I worked on referrals. I went from 1,000 calls a week to 5 calls a week. And then I got turned on to lead others and build organizations within the organization. So hired and trained thousands of financial advisors and agents. But my real passion and love was helping them to build a referral-based business. So the guys that I trained, Richard, were making 5 calls a week when everybody else, they were playing golf on Wednesdays, date night with their wives and spouses and significant others. So I saw the power of it, and I saw the power of the impact we had on consumers' lives at the same time. So I did all of that for 25 years. Last 10, I was a senior VP. I ran all of our national distribution organization of 8,000 financial advisors. Retired from that world 14 years ago to kind of pursue my entrepreneurial muscles that I've always been involved in lots of businesses since I was a kid. And I said to myself, what business do I want to start for myself? Because I was so involved in other people's businesses. And I said, you know what? I'm passionate about referrals. I know how it works. I had a manual system. Has anybody created any great technology out there that makes the behaviors easy that we all wished we could do, would do, want to do, but just can't get ourselves to do? Can we create technology around those things that make an insurance agent more referable, generate referrals, and convert them? And so I put a lot of dough into this to create that technology, built a great team with people like Chayton and others. And we've been rocking for 5 years with this thing with financial advisors, insurance agents, attorneys, and CPAs. So that's kind of the history. We're about 5 years old doing what we've been doing. And I love it because it takes everything that I've learned and created something that's replicatable, that an agent can take off the shelf and it'll do all the key behaviors that they wish they could do, maybe haven't been trained to do, or just on a particular day can't get themselves to do. So that's kind of my history.
Man, I love it. I started as an insurance agent in 2005, so probably right around when you retired. I was in that for about 5 years, but I was in the very same boat as far as and I hear the same story from a lot of agents. They come into the industry and they're kind of sold on the fact that, hey, you're going to go sell insurance or financial planning, when really they just got sold a marketing, background or a marketing position. They have no idea. And it's like, okay, well, where are you going to get these clients to sell? And the first place they do is like pick up the phone and do, 1,000 cold calls, just like you were saying. And I started in the exact same boat. I went from cold calling, I did door knocking, met people at 7-Eleven, Starbucks. I mean, anywhere you could get a person to talk to you is pretty much that. After about 5 years, I was like, man, I'm not really moving ahead as far as the amount of income that we're making. I hear a lot of agents and they just get burnt out because it's you might be able to do it and you might be good at it. And there are a few people out there that are like, man, I just love the phone. But it's just not sustainable long term. And the amount of work that you have to do in order to get to just one client is just astronomical. And that's one of the things that we really try and paint for a lot of the agents is look at the amount of work, whether you're doing just straight cold or you're buying leads or whatever, the amount of work that you have to do to go from here to just one client. We're on a referral based business, just like you said. I mean, you do 5 calls a week and you close 4. Because the authority that comes with you through that referral process is huge. It's almost like a done deal. They're just kind of handed to you on a silver platter. And a lot of agents that we talk to really don't have a game plan, and there's not really a lot of teaching around it because there's very few advisors. It's kind of like a unicorn story when you run into an advisor or an insurance agent. They're like, wow, I got my whole business on referrals. They're like, well, how do you do that? Well, I've been around for 35 years. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, you can't teach an agent just to wait around for 35 years to sometimes get there. And a lot of times there's not a bridge to go like, well, how do you actually do it? And we'll probably talk about that on kind of future phone call or future casts. But, it's just so powerful when you're able to take an agent from where they're at, this cold marketing, that's all they've been trained and inundated with, and you actually get them over here to where their business is actually operating referrals. It's a whole different world. Just like you said, hey, you can go golfing on Wednesdays and go on date night on Friday because you're not having to sit on the phone and dial for dollars, and make only a few when you could do it a totally different way. So love that.
Yeah. Well, all of that is true. And I love your energy around it. And, it's not just business transformational, right? It's life transformational, because once people either get great at this or use a system and resources like what you provide and we provide to become great at it without having to do all that training and waiting all that time, right? Once they hit that sweet spot and they see the power of this, and they see how they also unleash other humans' potential to make a difference, because there's so much in it for everybody to make this probably the top focus of building your business, because you not only get to transform your life and business, but you get to help other people do that because they're working with your insurance agents that are in the audience. That right now, if there's ever a certainty of uncertainty out there that they protect through risk management, this is it today, right? Whether it's health or anything else. And so this is super relevant right now. And there's a few things I find interesting about what you said and what you do also, Richard, because what you do is one of 2 systems that I had. So I had a system that was a manual version of what we've now created software, which I'm happy to share what it does in a second. But what you do is also interesting to me, and that's you help people build these networks that produce sustainable flows of referrals, right? We had a system we taught, that was my number 2 system, and we called it our 10-4 system, where we taught people to develop 10 key relationships that they touch and contact and add value to 4 times a year. And if over time, one of those isn't productive, you simply now have 9 and you seek out a 10th to replace it. And that system, combined with what is now a digital version of what I used to do, those 2 together are unbelievably powerful.
They are, one of the things, when we started doing this back in 2010, part of the thing that we started finding when we were looking at, okay, how do we get out of this cold lead game and really move into referrals? A lot of people really only ever spoke about getting referrals from their clients. And I think it's super powerful if you know how to do it, but a lot of people don't really tell you how to do that, or like, what's the process in order to do it, whether it's manual or automated. And we started looking at ways like, well, okay, if somebody's a brand new agent or a brand new advisor, because this industry is recruiting like mad crazy all the time. I don't care if it was
Totally.
20 years ago or today. Like you get on
Same thing.
LinkedIn or any other platform, somebody's trying to recruit for insurance or financial planning, right? And so it's like, okay, well, when you come into the space, you don't have any clients. So where can you go to start developing those people? And that's where we really found our niche as far as building out networks of people that have your type of clients. What can you do to come to the table and actually offer legitimate value to these people instead of, a lot of the dynamic when you work with a referral partner, it's very one-sided, and you walk in there, you're almost kind of like begging, hey, can you give me some free leads? And they're like, no, it's some people,
Totally.
you go through enough numbers and you'll find enough people to do that. But when you're able to actually build a relationship with that person where it lasts long term, you're able to provide their clients maybe either better service or in addition to what they're doing, it makes it super powerful. And that's why when we came across you guys, I saw you guys a couple years ago pop up on the scene, and I was like, okay, well, what is this? And then when Chayton reached out and was like, hey, I think we should have a talk because you guys are doing very similar things, but you have both sides to the house, because that's one thing that we teach on a little bit, but don't really have on an automated fashion for somebody to really just come in and plug into a system that is already there and to start getting clients or, referrals from their clients that they currently have. So yeah, so why don't you jump in a little bit about kind of how the system works real quick, and we'll kind of keep going.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. And thanks for that. Yeah. I think the biggest aha of my career came when I realized that after spending millions, I mean, we spend millions on leadership systems, support to help people build a referral-based business, and maybe got a little bit of lift after a lot of time and energy and role playing and drill for skill and docking and all of that. And yet we still couldn't get a human when they were alone face to face with a client, forget about Zoom world, but face to face with a client, to really ask for referrals in a way that it didn't lead to this awkward exchange that we all hate, right? So it's like, I don't know if I want to do it. I don't know if you want me to do it, but I need to do it because I know I need to build a referral-based business, right? And it's what self-talk goes to my, but the aha for me was when I realized this is about human nature and human behavior. That's where the breakthrough came. Because then I said, well, what's the problem here? We're spending all this money. We still can't really move the dime on it. And we've got best in class everything to do that. What's the problem? And the problem is human nature. We all do things to avoid pain and to gain pleasure. And for most people, this is perceived as being somewhat painful. So people don't do it or don't do it often enough,
Yep.
right? So then I said, okay, well, what are the behaviors we're solving for? What has to happen for somebody to be referable, generate referrals, and convert them to ideal clients? And we came up with 5. It's not 20, it's not 100, it's 5. But these 5 things have to happen. And as you hear me talk about these, if you're in the audience, maybe just self-assess and say to yourself, which one of these are hanging me up, right? Which ones of these are kind of my roadblocks? And if you can solve that yourself, great, but most people can, and I'll share why in a second. But the 5 behaviors are, we've got to have all these layers of relationships, clients, your network, et cetera. We need to ask them for referrals. 87% of them would refer if asked. And it is the #1 way that consumers want to learn about you. And it's the best lead source by far, not by a little, but by 400% higher conversion. And it is frictionless if done well, compared to high friction when done not well. So it's like the why is easy. We all know everybody wants to do this, right? But 5 things have to happen. We've got to ask those people, all of those relationships, consistently for referrals in ways they prefer. There's something called the rule of 7, where it takes people 7 times of hearing something before generally we act. So we've got to drip on them over and over again over a long period of time. But today, the #1 and #2 ways that consumers want to learn about a company and refer people to, believe it or not, is email and text. So face-to-face is still in there. We all need to ask, and some do and some don't. But we've got to ask people for referrals in ways they prefer in the comfort of their home or office over time without this awkward exchange. That's 1. #2, we have to give them reasons to refer. People default, agents default to what's in it for them. This is the way I grow my business. This is the way I do this. They don't care. What they want to know is what's in it for me. And we can do things like gifting and Amazon gift cards. That does work, as incentives do work, but the primary motivation is that people want to make a difference in other humans' lives. They want to refer people. We just got to unleash that and do it in the right way. So that's 2. 3 is then we've got to get them to make a proper recommendation, an introduction. This is where the ball gets dropped a lot. We've got to get the person to basically introduce the insurance agent the way the insurance agent wants to be introduced, right? Which is to say the right thing, set it up correctly. Rarely does that get done well. The best most agents do, Richard, and you of course know this, they might say something like, hey, Bill, you think you might run into Mary on the golf course next week? And if you do, can you say nice things about me? Now, right?
Yep.
But at the end of the day, now he has to do that. And when he gets to the golf course, he's playing golf. He doesn't feel like doing that. Nowadays, people do email introductions, but even with me, I love to introduce people. I have to get on. I've got to get both email addresses. I have to say, hey, Richard, meet Chayton. Chayton, meet Richard. Richard's a good guy. Chayton's a good guy. This is what they do. That takes me time. It takes me probably 15 minutes per referral. It's a hassle. I'll do it because I care about them, right? So that has to happen. That's 3. The 4th thing is another place people drop the ball, and that is, all right, you got a referral now. Maybe an introduction happened if you got that done, but somehow we got to get this referral interested prior to calling them. So more often than not, I call you as my referral and you say things like, who are you? Who referred you? And what do you do? And we've got to, and that's painful for me as an agent to have to overcome. So I want to do less of that task now. And then the 5th behavior is more of an outcome. And that is, if you do 1 through 4 well, we totally change the game, where instead of a bunch of agents chasing leads and chasing referrals to convert them, what would it look like to wake up and go to your computer and have all these alerts coming in and have a contact list of clients and referrals that request a meeting with you? So that is utopia. If I got those holy grail of leads from my system, we wouldn't have to do anything else, right? That's the only marketing anybody would have to do. You wouldn't have to spend anything, right? So basically, we created software around those 5 behaviors. So our system, once you set it up and you get your key relationship contact list in there, everything is completely automated, email and text, to drip on all these relationships with gratitude, with value, and with lots of angles of attack at different reasons why people should refer. So on month 3 or 4, they may have just met with somebody they thought of, boom, you're right there. And we make it super easy end to end. But where most systems end, which is maybe producing a name on a form, our system begins taking that name on the form, and all these mechanisms are built in to lead them down the path so that they raise their hand. We use quizzes, we use incentives, we use personal, authentic content that looks non-spammy, that looks like I just wrote you a text or wrote you an email personally. Thank you notes are built in. Everything is built into this. Basically, all the stuff that I wish I could get agents to do when I trained them, or I couldn't do myself, we built it in here. So all an agent has to do, take this bad boy off the shelf, put it in place, set it up. And once they set it up, it's totally set and forget. And over time, we'll produce contact requests, et cetera. So it's a pretty exciting business because we know the numbers. We know if somebody uses this as intended, uploads enough contacts in the system that are good relationships, and if people are reasonably referable, they'll get revenue from not only from referrals, but from their existing clients who they're going to reinforce the relationship, who are going to raise their hand and say, hey, thanks, you got to me. I just sold my house. I just bought a business, just sold my business. So this is a revenue producer. It's a monster once they set this up. And this, in conjunction with what you do, because what you do is say, let's get you that network set up and let's drip on that network. These two could work really well together to really help an advisor no longer really have to worry about marketing again, because rarely is an agent a great practitioner, a great business owner, and a great marketer. It's very, very rare that they have all three skills. Most have at best one of those three. So that's kind of the maybe short answer, maybe long answer to your question.
Yeah, no, I love it, because one of the things I feel like everybody struggles with is, a lot of the things that we all know we need to do, just like you pointed, we just don't end up doing. And, when an agent can come in and have a system where, hey, listen, let's put in a little bit of effort right now, but you don't have to go through that pain every single day in order to get this thing to work, I think is super powerful, because we all know in the back of our heads, like if we had to do this every single day, most people just aren't going to do it. And if we can set that up to be automated and get both of those touches, I love the fact that you brought up, not only are you looking for your clients to refer you, but a lot of times most agents and advisors really, after their sale, they really don't do a lot of follow-up with their existing book, and not just for referrals, just but for continued business and getting that relationship a lot more solid, because there's a lot of opportunity in everybody's list that we are just go unnoticed. It's like, okay, well,
Yeah.
so one of the first questions we ask is like, well, how big is your list? They're like, oh, okay, well, I've got 500 clients. Like, well, when's the last time you talked to any of them? Well, when I sold them. And it's like, oh, okay, well, that might be one of the problems that we can solve. And I love the fact that you talked about that, because so many people just completely overlook the gold mine that they have sitting right under their, in their email box, so that's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah, that is so true. And there's a certain amount of guilt, right, that we all have, because we know we should be in touch with people that we're just not. So, for me, it was, gosh, I've got 25,000 LinkedIn connections. I had a big client base of small business owners in the north end of Boston. I had all sorts of things when I was in your agent's shoes. I had network, I had community contacts. And I knew in my heart and hearts that if somehow I could, for example, back in the day, we did tons of coffee meetings or breakfast meetings, right? Because it was cheap, right? And we had no dough back then. So I would book like, a 6 o'clock and 8 o'clock, 6 o'clock maybe coffee, 8 o'clock was breakfast, but I couldn't do enough of them to be in front of all my people. Back then, we didn't have even internet, which is a scary thought, I'm sure, for your listeners. It's like, this guy must be really old, right? But we didn't have that. So I used to always feel this mountain of guilt. There's all these people, and today I ask people the question, let me ask you a question, Richard. If you could do a 15-minute coffee meeting or call or Zoom meeting with 100% of your best relationships, family, friends, network, clients, maybe past marketing leads that haven't converted, that you've built kind of that relationship with, right? If you could have a 15-minute coffee meeting where you could do three things. You could inform them something exciting about your business. They know how you're doing. Add some value to them, right? And then third, create some call to action where they feel they can refer somebody to you that you can help, or you can help them in some direct way. If we could do that with all the people, we'd feel zero guilt. And again, we wouldn't have to do anything. We'd have so much business to scale. We'd have to bring in more talent into our operations in order we'd explode it. So that was the mindset I had, is how do we reduce guilt? How do we reduce friction? How do we make life easier for an agent, save them globs of time by not having to spend the 35 years, to your example, either just letting time do it or trying to find a way to get so skillful and courageous with this that every time you're asking, that's a pretty big request. Most people, most of us are human. We can't do all that. So let's create a system that makes all that way easier for somebody.
Right. Absolutely. Well, you think we should cover anything else today? I mean, we've kind of gone over on quite a bit, I think, quite a bit of value as far as, what we should be doing and why we should be doing it. I think in further videos, we can kind of go into like deep dives as far as, kind of execution. But is there anything else you want to chat about with today?
Thanks for the question. No, I think we did a lot today. I would add one thing just to close, and that is something people can work on now prior to maybe engaging more with you or with what we do. And that is the ante into our game of referrals is that you need to become referable first, right? So that might be a good place to close, because we train a lot on this, because we find, frankly, the main difference of results in our system, all else being equal, is how referable an insurance agent is. So, what I always like to leave people with is let's make sure that you're conscious. You become consciously competent to be referable, and you kind of know how to measure that. So I'll leave you with two things. One would be what drives you being referable. And there's just three things. There's one, you've got to increase your contacts with your relationships. So have some type of CRM drip system, whether it's us or anybody else. Second is we have to find ways of adding value. Sometimes asking thought-provoking questions that they don't have the answer to adds the most value, because we need to create some disruption so people change. Then the third thing is to demonstrate 4 values of being referable. And that is do what you say, finish what you start, show up on time, and say please and thank you. I don't know about you, Richard, but I'm amazed how many businesses don't do those 4 things. So 2 things I'll leave you with. One is to think about value, values, and contact, and maybe evaluate yourself there. We can help with all 3 of those. I know you can too. And the last thing is, if you go to our website and go to Refer Me IQ, that's refermeiq.com. On the top nav, there is a quiz that you can take. If you go into the tools or resource section, there's something called a Refer Me IQ quiz. This is a really cool way for you to just do some self-assessment about how referable you are. What's the probability that you will build this referral-based business? Just 10 questions, takes 2 minutes. And if you want a direct link to that, just ping me at peter@refermeiq.com. I'll get you the link to the quiz. But take the quiz. It'll be kind of eye-opening for you. We score you. You have the chance to see, my score means this to me. And that may be a good baseline to see if you may even need either of our help. But other than that, I appreciate the time and the opportunity to be here with you today.
Yeah, guys, I think we covered a lot of different stuff today, and we're going to cover more in future videos, but we'll drop a link below this video for everybody to go ahead and check out that quiz, because I think, just like Peter said, that's really where it's going to start. If either of the systems are going to work for you, you've got to be referable, and people do business with people that they know, they like, that they trust, and he's touched on, I don't even know, I think 9 or 10 points just in the last couple of minutes to really have us assess ourselves and say, hey, are we really referable? Are we doing what we say we're going to do? That's one of the biggest things. Saying, a lot of this stuff really comes back to, I'm not going to say everybody was raised the same way, but what our moms taught us, right? Like, say please and thank you, and, be polite and do what you say you're going to do and follow up on those things. And there's so many people in business that just don't do those things. And they're all very basic. Nothing that we really talked today about is rocket science. It's a lot of very basic stuff, but as long as we apply it and execute it correctly, then it works every time. And Peter's proof of this. He built a massive business with, thousands of agents to do, the exact same thing and build their whole entire business on referrals. And that's what both of our companies help you do. So, Peter, I want to thank you for your time today. It was great content, and I hope everybody got a lot of value. We'll go ahead and drop the link below so everybody can take that quiz and do a little self-assessment today. And we will do a shout out here pretty soon on when our next video is going to come out, and kind of the further things that we're going to cover to help everybody here build their business on referrals. So thank you for your time today, Peter, and we will see you guys on the next show. Talk to you soon.
Wonderful. Thanks very much.